Hello, good evening to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well. In today's class, we are going to discuss about packaging element and a notation element. If we remember, we have in the previous class discussed what is a model. We have discussed what is modeling. We've discussed the importance of creating models. We have discussed UML as a mechanism for specifying, visualizing, constructing, and documenting software-intensive system. We've discussed various building blocks of UML. We've discussed what is an element. We've discussed what is a relationship. We've discussed what is a diagram, and then we discussed the various structural element and behavioral element, where we discussed class, interfaces, collaborations, use cases, components, nodes, and active classes as a structural element, and we discuss interaction and the state machine as a behavioral element. And now in today's class, we are going to discuss about packaging element and grouping element, packaging element and annotation elements. So packaging elements are elements that are used for organizing various diagrams that are there, diagrams that are there. It may be either structural or behavioral diagram, right? Okay, so it is a mechanism for organizing various diagrams, and conceptually these are available only during the time of development, and they are represented with the help of a tabbed folder. So folder basically represents a grouping of the related elements, and annotation elements are basically explanations that are included with the description of the elements, right? So in order to enhance understandability, or in order to enhance the illustration of the elements, or illumination of specific elements. So it is used primarily for annoting or annotation, that is, for example, rendering constraints and comments attached to the elements or collection of elements. And it's presented using a rectangle with a dog-eared corner. So it's dog-eared corner rectangle representing annotation element. So these are the four elements that are there in case of UML. You have structural, behavioral, packaging element, and annotation element. Now, just see, these are the various UML diagrams that are used for various purposes of modeling various aspects of the system. So like use case diagram, object, class, sequence, state diagrams are used for modeling the requirement, right? Okay. Likewise, we have class diagram, sequence diagram, state diagram, and activity diagram used for modeling the design. So these are the various purpose for which what we can do is we can use the diagrams in case of UML. Now let us try to learn about selecting views for different types of system. Now there can be possibly two types of systems that may be there. One is called as monolithic system, and the other one is called as distributed system. Monolithic systems are systems where all the functionalities are interwoven in such a manner that it may be difficult for us to separate the functionalities, and these functionalities are placed at single location. Okay. Whereas distributed systems are systems where different components of the system or different functionalities of the system are placed at different locations. So monolithic system basically means everything is deployed at one place, and distributed systems are systems that are deployed at different locations. So different components of the system are deployed at different locations. So now pertaining to either monolithic system or distributed system, there might be various views relevant. So namely, there are five possible perspectives or views. So there are five possible relevant views, that are use case view, design view, process view, implementation view, and deployment view. Now, based on the type of system, the views may be relevant. So in case of monolithic system, there are only two views that are relevant. These are use case view and design view. So in case of use case view, we have use case diagram. In case of design view, we have class diagram, interaction diagram. Whereas process view, deployment view, and implementation view are not relevant in the case of monolithic system. So likewise, in case of distributed system, all the five views are relevant. Whereas in case of use case view, what we have is use case diagram and activity diagram. In case of design view, we have class diagram, interaction diagram, and state machine diagram. In case of process view, we have class diagram and interaction diagram. In case of implementation view, we have component diagram, and in case of deployment view, we have deployment diagram. Now let us discuss use case and use case diagram. Now a use case it describes or captures functional requirement of a particular system. right? It represents desired behavior of the system. It identifies all the actors that are using the system and associated processes. It acts as a building blocks for constructing use case diagram, and it ties requirement phase to development phase. Now, these are the characteristics of a use case. So it describes or captures functional requirement. It represents the desired behavior of the system. It identifies user of the system and associated processes. These are the building blocks for use case diagram, and it used to tie requirement phase to the development phase. Now, a particular use case is a collection of a chunk of task-related activity describing the behavior of a system. So, as we have discussed in the previous class, a use case may be defined as a particular way in which a system can be used by the user. It describes a set of action sequence that the system performs in order to present an observable result, right? And it describes system from the external users perspective because it's not capable of disclosing the internal implementation. So a use case is a collection of task related activities. It describes a sequence of action or sequence of action that are initiated in order to deliver a particular result, and it describes the system from an external user's perspective. Now, key aspect attributes of use cases. The key attributes of use cases are description, action sequence. It includes variance, and it produces certain observable result. So every use case has to have a description associated with it, right? It has to have the action sequence, the sequence of action that is initiated. With every step in the action sequence, there might be variance. So variance basically discusses the alternative paths that may be taken up and the results that are produced by the use cases. Now, a use case does not discuss user interface. It does not discuss performance goals. It does not discuss non-functional requirements. So these are the important aspect that use case does not focus on. Now there are different types of relationship that may exist between use cases. The relationships are generalization, specialization, includes, and extends. Now let us focus on what is generalization, specialization relationship. So if you consider this particular set of use cases, pay via PayPal, pay via credit card, and pay via EFT. These are specialized version of the base case make payment, whereas make payment is a generalized version of all of this. That means whatever features that are common between all the specialized case use cases will be the description of the base use case. So that is the way how the interpretation is done. So that is the way how generalization specialization relationship is interpreted. So base class is a generalization of all the derived classes, whereas derived classes are a generalization of the base class or base case, right? So now let us try to discuss include relationship. Include relationship, you see here what we have is we have an example. So deposit fund includes customer authentication. Withdrawal cash includes customer authentication. That basically means include relationship between use cases implies that the base case explicitly incorporates the behavior of another use case. So deposit fund includes customer authentication, cash withdrawal includes customer authentication. So include basically represents explicit incorporation of behavior of some other use case by the base case. The include relationship never stands alone, but it stands along with the behavior of the extension point or the inclusion point, as we call it as. So include relationship never stands alone, but it's instantiated as a part of some larger base of use cases, and it's rendered using include stereotype. So just see here what we have is we have include stereotype that tries to explain the relationship. So include relationship is a relationship where a base case explicitly tries to incorporate the behavior of another use case, and include relationship never stands alone. It's instantiated as a part of a larger relationship, and it's rendered using include stereotype. Likewise, what we have is we have extends. Now extends relationship between use cases basically refers to optional behavior. So base case implicitly incorporates the behavior of another use case as a as at a location specified by extending the use case. So this is called as extension point. So it may so happen that the base case may incorporate the feature of some other may incorporate feature of some other use case. So the base case may stand alone, or it may stand along with the extension point. So depending upon the system's behavior, the extension use case will be executed or will not be executed. So if an example, so but here what we need to understand is we need to understand that includes and extends are represented in opposite direction. So include is represented from base case to the inclusion point, whereas extension is represented from the extension point to the base case. So that is the way how the difference between the two relationship is made. So extends as a stereotype extends, whereas the direction of relationship is from the extension point to the base case. Here it is from the base case to the inclusion point. So include in simple term means mandatory inclusion, and extends basically means optional inclusion. Now actors are anyone or anything that interacts with the system. Now why we are calling it as anyone or anything? Because anyone represents physical actor and anything represents logical actor or any other system. So any external system is called as a logical actor, and and here what we have is we have anyone representing physical actor. So any physical actor or logical actor may interact with the use case in order to generate certain observable result. So an actor is something or someone that stimulates the system to respond. Uh, is something we do not have control over. So now we do not have any control over the actor. It represents a coherent set of roles that an external entity to the system can play. It represents any type of systems user. Actor stimulates a system providing input events and or receive something output from the event. So actor is capable of receiving, providing input, and it's capable of receiving the output. Now this is what describes an actor. So an actor is anyone or anything that interacts with the system in order to enable system to generate certain observable result. So it's called as anyone or anything, right, or somebody or something, because it can be either be a physical actor, it can either be a logical actor or an external system, right. Actors are something over which we do not have any control, because we do not know how the actors will behave whenever they are trying to use the system for generating certain observable result. So it represents a coherent set of rules that an external entity to the system can play, and represents any type of system user. So actor stimulates a system by providing input and accepting or receiving the output that's provided or produced by it. Now, actor communicates with the system by sending and receiving messages. So this is what we have learned. Now, actors model anything that needs to interact with the system to exchange information. So that's also we have discussed. It can be a human user, it can be a computer user, or anything other than that. A user may act as one or several actors, as it interacts with the system. So now, so these are the characteristics of actors that we can have. So now, let us try to establish understand relationship between actors. So there may be different types of relationship between actors. So an example, as in case of use cases, human resource. This is a generic actor. So project manager, resource manager, system administrator are types of human resource, right? Okay. So project manager, resource manager, and system administrator are specialized version of human resource, whereas human resource is a generalized version of all of these actors. So this is a type of relationship that may exist between actors, that is generalized and specialized relationship. And types of actors, so we can have initiators versus participants, and we can have primary actors versus secondary actors. So initiators are the one who will be actually initiating the event or requesting for a response from the system, and participants are one who will be participating in realization of that particular system. So for an example, if a student if a student wants to issue a book, then in order to issue a book, librarian actor as an actor may be required, clerk as an actor may be required. So student is the initiator, whereas librarian and clerks are participants. Now, primary actors and secondary actors are primary actors that are actors who are directly associated or directly interact with the system, and others other than anything other than that, or actors anything other than primary actors are called as secondary actors, right? So this is the generalization specialization is the relationship that may exist between different types of actors, and we have learned about types of actors as well, that is initiators and participants. Now, a use case diagram. A use case diagram is a diagram that represents use cases, actors, and their relationship. It is central to the modeling of functions of a particular system, but because it's capable of highlighting all the possible use cases that are there in the system. It is used to visualize the functions of the system, so user can comprehend how to use the system, and developers can understand how to implement the system. So, use case diagram is capable of putting everything together. So, use case diagram is a diagram that's capable of representing use cases, actors and their relationship. It's capable of highlighting all the functional requirements. It's capable of it's used to visualize the functions of the system, so it can users can comprehend or understand what the system is capable of doing, and developers are capable of understanding what are the things that are to be implemented. Okay, so use case diagram is a mechanism of putting everything together. So use case diagram has various parts. So it has use cases, actors, and relationships, and it has relationships like dependency, generalization, and association. Now, identifying use cases. So, in order to identify use case, what we need to do is we need to, since we know that use cases are capable of describing the functions that the user wants from the system. So, the operations like create, read, update, delete information can be the clues to the use case, or how actors are notified of any changes to the internal state, and how they notify the system about the external events. So this can also be use cases. So then identifying. So these are the possible ways in which what you can do is you can identify the use cases. All the functionalities that are supported by the system forms the use cases. The operations like update, create, delete, and read, they form use cases, right? The way how the users are notified, they form use cases. So identifying actors. So in order to identify actors, you need to answer the following questions. So who uses the system? So if we have answer to this particular question, then we'll be able to identify actors. Who gets information from the system? So using this also, what we can do is by creating answer for this also we can identify actors. Who provides information to the system? Who installs and starts up and maintains the system? So if we provide answer to these following four questions, what you'll be capable of doing will be you'll be capable of identifying the actors. So all the functions that the system is expected to behave will form the use cases. All the operations, identifiable operations, forms the use cases. All the mechanism for notification forms the use cases. And if you answer these following four questions, you'll be capable of identifying the actors, right? Now, how to name use cases and how to name actors. So, use cases are to be named using a strong noun-verb combination, as we have already learned. So, strong verbs are create, calculate, migrate, and activate. Weak verbs are make, report, use, organize, record. Right? So, we need to use a strong verb and a strong noun. So, strong noun are property, payment, transcript. Weak nouns are data, paper, report, system. So, for an example, if I say that calculate payment, so calculate payment is a very strong noun verb combination. So that is the way how use cases are to be named. Now, naming actors. So actors can be named as per the role they perform in context to the user. So group individuals accordingly to how they use the system by identifying the roles. So each role is a potential actor. So name each role and define its distinguishing characteristics. Do not equate job titles with roles. Roles cuts jobs, all right, cuts across jobs. So use common names for existing system. Avoid inventing new. So basically, whenever you're trying to name actors, what you need to do is you need to identify all potential roles. So all potential roles will be actors. So name each role and identify its distinguishable characteristics. So this is the way how we need to name the actors. So the name of the actors will be noun. Okay. So how do we name use cases? Named use cases are to be named with the help of a strong noun-verb combination, whereas actors are to be named with the help of a noun that resembles the role that the actor plays using the system. Now, this is a very simple example of use case diagram, where what we have is we have actors like site user, website master. So this is a use case diagram for web management system. Okay, so site user. So what are the possible reasons why a user may use a website? So for searching documents, for browsing documents, for viewing events, for logging in. Likewise, webmaster is used for another use of a user site user is upload documents. So webmaster is used for uses the system for uploading document, post new events at the home page, and add user. right? Okay, so whenever the documents will be searched, right, it includes, if the document is found, it includes downloading of the document, right? Okay, it includes preview. So whenever you're trying to browse documents, so preview, so it includes browse documents, right? Okay, upload, whenever you're trying to upload documents, so you may or may not upload document, right? You may or may not add user. So if there's a request, you will add user. If there is a document that is to be uploaded, so what you do is you upload document. So this, you see here, what we have is we have extends, right? Extends are extension points, whereas inclusions are mandatory inclusions. So search document will include download document, or browse document will include preview document, right? Okay, search document will include preview document. Upload document may extend its behavior to upload document, or add user may extend its behavior to add user. So this will be performed only when it's required. So this is a very simple use case that tries to represent the various actors that are participating and the various use cases that are used for realizing web management system. So in today's class, what we've learned about is we have learned about, let's go back to the history. So we have learned about the packaging elements. We have learned about annotation elements. So then we have learned about the significance of various modeling, significance of various UML diagrams for various modeling, requirement of various modelings. Okay, right. So then we have talked about monolithic system and distributed systems, and the views that are relevant to monolithic system and distributed systems. Okay, we have learned that only two views are relevant to monolithic system, whereas all five views are relevant to distributed system. Then we talked about what is the use case. We talked about what is the importance of use case. We talked about some of the key attributes of use case. We talked about what use case does not discuss. We talked about relationship that may exist between use cases. We discussed generalization, specialization, extends, and includes. Then we discussed actors. We discussed what is the role of the actor. And then we discussed relationship between actors. We discussed different types of actors, where we discussed initiators and participants. We discussed primary and secondary actors. Then we discussed use case diagrams. We discussed components of use case diagrams. We discussed mechanisms for identifying use cases and mechanism for identifying actors. And then we discussed the way for associating names with the use cases and associating names with the actors. And we discussed a very simple use case diagram that tries to represent a web management system. So this is the end for today's class. Thank you very much.